Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Unscripted Exchanges. I'm your host Cole.
And I am Hayden Huber.
We're excited to be back in the studio today. We've been kind of kicking some topics back and forth for you. First thing I think we wanted to call out, and I think we talked about it on Sunday, but I just want to bring it back around.
You're jumping into some serious stuff right away.
The Bengals.
Okay, all right.
The Bengals versus the Titans.
I guess they are top of mind for us.
By the way, NFL shout out if you guys want to sponsor us. We're here, Bengals.
Maybe not the NFL, but the Cincinnati Bengals can sponsor us. Yeah, we'll take those.
Are we gonna go smash it on the Titans this weekend? What do you think?
I think we are going to win 31-27. I think it's going to be a tough game, but we're going to come out on top once again. It's going to be nice.
Bold claim, Cotton. Bold claim. I don't have any predictions about that, but I do think that if Derrick Henry is just coming back, I don't know how much of a factor he's going to be.
Yeah, I agree. When you're out of the game too long, you're going to come up sometimes a little rusty, as I say.
Are you rusty? Okay. Yeah. So today we want to talk about, and we'll kind of jump around, but one of the things we were kicking around, and this was from some recent stuff I've been having going on, is do-it-yourself projects at home.
I love those. Yes.
Do it. I know you love them. And I'm trying to love them as a first-time homeowner. You do some right, you do some wrong. But I've had a few different experiences with them lately that have gone. Some of them have gone really well. Christmas lights did not go so well. You could call it a do-it-yourself project, or you could just call it like that's what you typically have to do yourself. But
we need to know more about what went wrong with those Christmas lights. Like, did you not like the lights, or like were they hung up incorrectly? Tell us more.
Well, I can lay out like the whole night for you if you want.
Yeah,
it was a whole situation.
Get into that.
All right, so we're about 2 weeks before Christmas, and we've been talking about putting lights on. We've got 2 daughters, and I'm like, okay, I've got to do it. I've just got to get it done. It was a Friday night. It was actually 1 or 3 weeks before Christmas. It was gun season, hunting season.
Okay.
So I decided to not go out hunting that night. I was going to go hang some lights, right?
Yep.
Hadn't thought it through. Didn't have some kind of planogram. So we'll document like where they're putting these lights. I'm like, okay, I've got a box of lights. We're hitting this push, this. And I decided like halfway through that I was not going to be the only house in the neighborhood without lights like along the gutters, right?
Okay. Yeah. You wanted to fit in with the crowd.
I wanted to look cooler. No, I had red lights. Nobody had red lights.
Okay.
Just to be clear.
But I thought you were all about catching green lights. Not red lights. Come on.
That was okay. Thank
you weren't in that mindset.
I wasn't for red lights. Just let me finish the story.
I'm so sorry. I'll shut up.
Okay, let me finish this because I got to lay it out for you. All right. So I got the lights, and I'm like, okay, how do I get these on the gutter? And I don't have hooks or anything, but it's like 4 o'clock. We've got something planned later. I'm like, I don't want to run to Home Depot, which, by the way, shout out to Home Depot and Lowe's. You guys have made so much money off of me since I bought a house. But anyways.
Not sponsored yet.
Not sponsored yet, but you guys, I've been giving you enough money, just come back and throw some my way. But I was like, okay, so I got this ladder, and the ladder's like just tall enough for me to reach my arms up over the roof and get onto the first level. So I've got like basically 3 tiers of roof. And so the first gutter over my garage was kind of easy. I use zip ties. It looks super janky, okay? You can see the zip ties from a quarter mile away. So I was zip tying these lights to the gutter guard. And then I look up, and I'm like, okay, there's like the second bridge, right? And I'm like, oh, shit. Like, I'm thinking to myself, there's nothing good that's going to come out of me climbing up to the second tier of my house. I'm like, I can't leave it, though. Like, if I don't finish it now. So I'm like, okay, I'll just climb up there, so right? So I hoisted myself up. I'm like bleeding on both my arms, okay? Ava's like yelling out to me. She's like, Dad, are you going to be okay? I'm like, go get your mom. Make sure your mom's out here. She needs to call 911.
This could be the end.
Park the car by the garage in case I fall. So I'm up there, and I'm like zip tying some more. There's another 3rd tier. And this is like 2-story house. So, right, I'm about 25 feet off the ground at this point. And I climb up there, and I'm like, this is really stupid. So I'm sprawled out, like trying to hold on to. These are, what's on a roof? Shingles.
Well, you can have more than just shingles.
Yeah, but we have shingles. Okay, we have shingles. I'm like trying to hold. Shit's not gonna hold me up. I'm holding on to shingles. I'm trying to zip tie these lights. Long story short, I got the lights up. They looked great. Except for they drooped like 3 times. My wife was like, you should fix that. I'm like, there's no way in hell.
I did it once. I'm not doing it again.
That was the stupidest thing I could have ever done. I could have fallen off the roof. Right? I mean, I think I'm a pretty durable guy, so I could have maybe rolled out of it, but they're still up on my roof, if you're wondering.
And they're still up there.
I tried to call somebody I was like, okay, I'll just pay somebody to do it for me, right?
I'm glad you brought that up because I literally had that thought driving the other night. There are still quite a few people out there that have Christmas lights. Like, I get the fact that maybe you don't want to take them down because it's been too cold at the start of the new year here where we live. But, like, why do you turn them on? Like, I guess...
Why are you hating?
Well, I know. I sound like I am hating. It just doesn't make sense to me.
I had mine on until like a week ago, so thanks for that. You're right, though.
I mean, why do you keep them on past, like...
It's a spirit. Yeah. It's the holiday spirit.
All right, yeah. I mean, I'm on the flip side of that where I put them up probably too early, but the past few years I take them down literally the next day. Christmas is over. It's time to move on. That's how.
Well, that's because you're better than everybody here, Hayden.
No, far from that. I find it interesting that there's still Christmas up.
Well, there are some houses that like you're like, it's okay if you like. There are some houses in the neighborhood. I'm like, I thought I did a bang up job. Then we did a circle around. I'm like, you fucking kidding me? These guys, like, there's people with like the webs coming down. They got shit on the side of the house. I feel like I don't want to drive my daughter around because she's like, Dad, we have the best house in the neighborhood. I'm like, she's like, can we go see the other ones? I'm like, no. She's like, can we go for it? No. Well, I just want to see that. No, there's no other lights in the neighborhood. Sorry.
Well,
if you ask again, you're grounded.
You know there are these like plastic clips that will clip onto anything.
I get that. Okay.
You know that could have probably saved you some time with this.
I can't get them down. I gotta like.
Oh,
so I called
that makes sense for why they're still up there.
My dad says, he goes, I got a guy, he hangs them for me, and he's super cheap. He'll do it for you. Just call him $40. Well, that's a no-brainer, right? I call the guy. Well, you've been to my parents' house, okay? So like, the guy probably didn't my dad that much of a deal, but he's probably thinking, man, I got ripped off with this guy. He's like, I don't get off the couch for anything less than $175. And I was like, there's like 4 zip ties. I need you to cut down, okay? I'm like, I'm not paying you. I was like, what is your quarter hourly rate? He goes, $175. And I was like, we're leaving those up for a while. Man.
You could like just
I can't
tug on them, couldn't you, and hang on them like Tarzan?
They're on my gutters. They're on my like gutter.
You might take down the
It was
gutter,
super stupid. Okay. So anyways, there's a totally off topic random DIY project that has really.
That sounds like DIY.
I don't even know that DIY project. I just put lights up.
DIY disasters.
But here, okay, so let's rewind though, because I think there is some value to talking about at-home projects.
Yep.
And getting into like, for me, it's the. Let me move this for a second. Move the mic. I get more comfortable. Okay.
Yeah, stay a while, man.
Hold on, I'm going to turn to you.
You're on the couch here.
There we go. So we're having a conversation. There is some value, and this is something I'm figuring out. Obviously, I bought my first house 6 months ago. Like you've lived in your house for what, 3 years?
Yeah.
3 years. Okay. So what I struggle with in understanding is like there are definitely like projects that you want to do yourself, and you should do yourself, in my opinion. Like they're each their own. But there are also like projects that you need to look at like the financial gain of just doing it by do it with someone else, a professional, versus doing it by yourself. I guess you've done some projects around your house. You know, when you bought it, what are some of the projects you've done that made more sense for you to do yourself? And then what are some projects you did that you might have done part of it, you brought a professional into the rest?
Yeah, so cosmetically speaking, painting, anyone can paint. I don't recommend painting, up in high areas though, because that's just challenging and typically requires a very tall ladder or some type of scaffolding. But
I'm gonna jump in real quick. Can you just rewind? What did you say? I'm trying to convince my wife to let me paint our house. So can you rewind and say it a little bit slower?
Yeah, anyone can paint.
Anyone can paint.
But.
Okay, don't throw the butt in there.
But if you have to climb up high and paint, I recommend you at least have someone around to make sure that if something goes wrong.
Oh, so my wife can catch me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Well, fun fact or fun story here, which it really, I guess, wasn't funny in the moment. My dad was painting in our house about, I'd say, 12 years ago. He was up on a ladder, positioned it on the steps at an angle, and his weight had all slipped and it fell down, and he broke his wrist. So,
Oh, that sucks.
yeah, but it was,
So DIY projects can be dangerous.
yeah, they can be dangerous, is what we're saying. So, anyways, back to your question there. Painting, those are projects that really anyone can tackle, and some of which you can knock out in a weekend, which it feels really rewarding when you can, go in and knock something out. Especially in this day and age where we want that instant gratification. I mean, sometimes it takes more than just a day to paint a room, but there's those projects that I've worked on. I've done some minor like wood or carpentry work in one of the rooms where I just bought these wood slats, basically sanded them down, made them as smooth as I could, and then I put some type of stain on them, and then nailed those to the wall and just changed the entire environment. But yeah, there's certainly projects, as you mentioned, that any homeowner can certainly roll up their sleeves and try to tackle, and then there's some that are like, maybe I should call in that expert that will make this look a little bit better and probably done the right way as well. And one of those for me was getting the tile redone in my master bathroom. Um, I was thinking about doing it myself, but certainly the tile would have been probably a little bit crooked, missing some grout here and there. So, yeah, I guess at the end of the day, it just depends on what projects you feel comfortable with tackling versus the ones that you probably need some assistance on, or just fully bringing someone in to do it all.
Yeah, but you said, you made a good point. And I guess I'm gonna kind of add to that. So you said like the instant gratification, right?
Yep.
You were talking about, there's some projects that you just want to do. Like there's some stuff you just want to do it. You want to do it quickly. And some of that stuff that you just can't do quickly, right? And it brings on an interesting. I had an interesting thought process on that along the lines of like, and I'm getting off DIY projects for a minute because there's like a lot of projects in life, right? That whether it's like business or personal or anything like that, that like you have to be able to like set time aside and know it's going to take some time. So like you said, I mean, there's things, using the house as an example, that like you just can't tackle in a day.
Yep.
And you've got to break it down into different pieces. I mean, like I want to throw out like your home gym, for example. That wasn't done in a day, was it? That was a home project that you did that you've kind of you didn't do it all in one sitting.
Certainly, yeah. No, that took time, and obviously quite a lot of capital investment. So yeah, over time, I'd had to buy some new pieces of equipment. But yeah, like you were trying to get into there, it's certainly rewarding to take on those larger projects that take more than just a couple of days to knock out. And yeah, you can apply that to other parts of your life, and that's kind of one of the biggest reasons why I've continued running. Running, you can't cheat in running. You just got to keep moving.
He goes earlier today. I said, how hard do you run? He goes 6 miles. Okay. He's like, that was a light jog. I'm like, shut up.
It's all relative. I mean, I know people that are doing 100
I live
miles
like 6 miles away from here. I'm like, it's like I'm running from
Yeah.
here to my house.
Hey,
That's impressive.
You're giving me an idea. Maybe I'll run to your house.
There we go. So, okay, so, and then speaking of that, okay, so I want to backtrack because you said, okay, pieces at a time. I think that's a good point to make because, especially the bigger projects, right, that there's going to be a lot of more capital investment. It doesn't mean don't start just because it's more capitally intensive. It just means try to break it down and do a work at a little bit at a time, right? So like a home gym, you could start with 2 dumbbells and then buy 2 more.
Exactly. Yeah, and something that's really cool that I'd like to draw a parallel here is with my actual working career as a product manager. So essentially, we try to tackle these problems, and we put out what is called a MVP product, minimal viable product. So to start, it's not always everything that you want, but it gets the job done for, the immediate term. So as you were mentioning there with the gym, starting with just a couple of dumbbells or whatever it might be, like that's going to help me get started. But, over time, I want to add a squat machine. I want to add like a rowing machine, whatever it might be. You got to start somewhere, and it's like, what do I need now versus later? What can I hold off on, and what is critical? So I see that not only in my personal life with some of these house projects that I'm taking on, such as the cosmetic stuff. I can paint the walls, get those done now. That feels good versus taking on some of these larger projects, which definitely are going to take a lot more of my time and energy as well as capital resources. And then, that parallel is also there with my work schedule at Kroger as we try to build these products for our customers. They aren't perfect at first, but, we get something out there that tries to alleviate the problem. And then we iterate and try to build, additional enhancements that actually solve the broader issue at hand.
Right, absolutely. You start somewhere, and you have an end goal in mind. And I'm thinking of like what I'm going to start when I go home tonight. What projects have I put off because of that? Like, oh, this is going to be $15,000-$20,000. But there are, like you said, there are little things that you can do. You can start doing, like whether it's, for me, we're going to finish our basement. That's my goal, to refinish our basement this summer.
Does we include me? Because I think you're trying to sucker me in.
I used we intentionally. But I know one of the things is make sure that everything's cleared out, making sure that I have it all cleaned up. I can organize it. Moving my daughter's art studio somewhere else. Getting some measurements. Figuring out like what I need to start applying. I might not buy anything tonight or the next couple of days or even the next week, but I might be able to start like getting some material lists together and like what do I need and talking to people and say, hey, how do I start this, and then start incrementally working on it.
Yeah, it sounds like you're coming up with that plan of action, and then you're going to get executing on some of that.
Well, this room was a executed plan of action.
Yeah, you're right. We had talked about having a place where we felt like we could vibe and the energy was good, and to start, it wasn't perfect, but we were able to knock out a few episodes here, and as you can see, or at least for those that are watching us visually here on YouTube, you can see already some additional enhancements. In each and every episode, I'm sure you'll see something that's different. Hopefully soon we'll have a nice sign behind us, but we've got a better setup in terms of just seating. We've got an area now for a guest speaker. We've got some additional monitors or TVs in the room to put up some content. We really want to make sure that the experience that we're putting out there is, one, engaging and also insightful for the customers or the listeners at the end of the day.
Absolutely. So I'm going to ask you, kind of to tie this DIY project discussion up. Mm-hmm. What was your favorite project you've done here at your house?
So I won't just say there's one favorite project. Favorite project in terms of time it took from beginning to end would probably be the outdoor patio or living area that I built. And that's something that took about probably close to 3.5, 4 weeks in total. But it's a really awesome setup. I'm very proud about it. Got a few TVs out there in the summertime to watch Saturday college football and then Sunday NFL.
But you've got those little like triangle things that make you feel like you're like in Phoenix, like basketball.
Oh yeah,
they're so sick.
They call those shade sails. I got a couple of those. Yeah,
that's such a cool name.
Yeah, but I'm thinking about something already bigger and better than that, and that's where my product manager mindset comes into play. It's like, okay, I like these now. These get the job done for 6 months to a year, whatever it might be, and then I'm already thinking, what can I build or what's better? And, I got to recognize at times that sometimes, what I have right now is more than enough, and I want to recognize that I'm blessed, but just the way that my mind is wired, like I'm always trying to think of ways to optimize and tinker on things. So yeah, my mind is constantly going.
You're ready to move on to the next one. So I'm going to answer my own question then with very simple.
You share that with me.
Very simple one. So for Christmas we got Ava a swing And it's like almost like not a tire swing, but I don't know what it's called. It's got like mesh in the middle, and it can hold like 3 or 4 kids, and
Can it hold you?
it can hold me. It holds up to 300 pounds. So
Oh,
yeah. So it's pretty robust. So we've been trying. We have our big backyard. We got the trampoline and trying to make it more kid friendly. And hinting at future plans, future DIY projects. Anybody out here built a tree house? Anybody listening built a tree house? Would love some insight on that because I want to put one in our backyard. We have the perfect trees for it. Anyways, we went and got a 4x4 beam, got some lag bolts, found 2 trees, made sure it was level, put them in the tree, hung the swing from the beam, and it's this thing. I mean, it goes pretty high, but she is every day it's warm enough to get out there. I mean, we had a snow day a couple days ago. We're out there swinging on the swing, jumping off the big snow piles. So a super easy DIY project, like DIY. I mean, it was a mixture of DIY. We had to rig it. I mean, it's made to be put on a, we had to put the beam up there.
I call that ingenuity.
Ingenuity, and she loves it. She loves it. So one of my cooler, most recent, super simple DIY project that my daughter loves, and it's fun for both of us. And of course, I get on there and I'm swinging too. So.
What's that feeling feel like? As a dad that gets to work on a project and you get to see, your children reap the benefits of the hard work that you put in.
Oh, it's just so much cooler,
yeah.
Especially because they notice it too. So she was just like through the roof about having that. And then obviously our biggest project I promised her is we're putting a turtle pond in the backyard.
A turtle pond?
Turtle pond.
Okay.
She's got turtles. Okay. She wants to have a turtle like koi pond, turtle pond.
Not snapping turtles.
No, like red sliders, yellow sliders. But that's another summer project that we're looking at doing. So
very cool.
I'm gonna have more content to talk about as we get back into spring and summertime too.
I think your house is starting to turn into a legitimate zoo, just in terms of all the animals.
It is. We have it's crazy. It's crazy.
I mean, what, you've got at least 10?
I think we've got 2 turtles, 2 geckos, 2 dogs, a fish. That's it.
Okay.
That's all.
All right.
Soon to be more probably, and I'll probably wind up with more eventually. But
yeah, next week it might.
Those are some of those that sounds like a good idea, and 2 weeks later, why did I agree to this?
My sisters keep trying to push me to get a dog, and I keep telling them I want a dog. I love the idea of having a dog, but I just don't want that extra responsibility in my life right now. And I'm also focused on so many other things that I don't think having a dog.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah, so I wanted to hear how do you take care of all those animals?
Well, the dogs are honestly now they're kind of easy. I mean, you feed them.
Yeah.
With our backyard's fenced in, we let them outside run around. They're kind of easy. I mean, they go a little nuts, but the geckos, I mean, those are like a weekly feed. The fish, it's just a beta fish. It's got a beta fish. I mean, you can kind of set it and forget it. You just feed it every once in a while. You flick the bowl to make sure it's alive.
No, if it's not, you run down.
Dude, listen to this shit. So my daughter and my wife were out of town, and I was at home. They left me with all the animals, of course, which is terrible. Because when you're home alone, you're I want to be out and about. There's nothing for me to do here.
Right.
But now I gotta be home for these dogs and these turtles and all this. So she gets home, and I'm at work. I get a text. My wife goes, "You killed Jimmy. Jimmy's our beta fish." I'm like, "No, I didn't. That fish is fine." She's like, "No, you fed it too much food, it's floating." And kids get attached to animals. So Ava's not only did I kill her fish is dead, but Dad killed her fish. You POS. How could you do this? So I'm just feeling terrible about this, right? I'm at work. I'm I feel so bad. She was crying about it. I get home. I walk in the room. I hadn't looked at the bowl. The bowl looked like a lagoon of death, okay? I had put too much food in there. This little fish is laying on this leaf. I'm oh, come on. So I flicked the bowl. And it got right back up and swam around. And I was told you guys I didn't kill it.
So fish can just lay down.
Dude, there's a thing there's a thing called a fish hammock.
Okay.
It's like a leaf, and the fish will lay on it and lay out. Not kidding you.
So you knew all along that it wasn't dead.
I didn't. I flicked it though, and yeah, that was a funny story. Anyways, I digress.
You have a great excuse though at the end of the day or the night if you don't want to do something. You can say I gotta either take care of my family, my children, or I've got all these animals that I gotta go back to.
The dogs need me.
Yeah, that's a perfect excuse to get out of something that you don't want to do. That's the one thing that I don't really have. What can I make up that? Oh, it's my grandma's birthday. Yeah, you told us that last week. How many grandmas do you have? And I've been there for doing that back when I was younger.
You just buy a dog so you've got an excuse.
Why'd you get that dog? It's my excuse to get out of things that I don't want to do.
Sorry, the dog needs me. Well, we're going to a dog park where she doesn't like other dogs, so.
I mean, I'm gonna get a dog. It's just a matter of when. And
what kind of dog?
I don't know. I've been looking at some of those golden doodles, but I've heard a lot of people are like those dogs are super energetic and they always want to be around people. Yeah,
they're the best.
They're super smart. But
I can see you with like a beagle.
Maybe, yeah.
Or like a miniature chihuahua.
No, probably not. But
you could have one of those purse dogs.
Yeah,
Pomeranian.
Maybe, but highly doubtful.
No, I can see like a boxer. German Shepherd.
No, I think those dogs are a little bit too aggressive for me.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyhow.
French Bulldog.
No. Maybe I'll get
Boston
Maybe I'll get a fish.
All right, I'm done naming dogs.
Maybe I'll get.
You should get a beta fish and get them a fish hammock.
Okay. All right.
That'll be my gift to you.
It sounds pretty simple.
Yeah, I'll get you a beta fish.
Yeah.
That could be your excuse.
I can't come out tonight because I have to take care of my beta fish.
Yeah, sorry, the fish needs to be fed.
So I want to go back though real quick to the DIY topic. Something I didn't get a chance to ask you. What was the biggest lesson that you've learned or that you're learning as you try to take on some of these projects?
Well, you got to prioritize certain ones. I mean, the biggest lesson. What do you mean, like life lesson?
Well, there's no right or wrong answer.
Tools are your friend.
Yeah.
You got to have the right tools. So that's an easy one.
That makes a huge difference in the time it takes.
I mean, if you're buying a new house, if you're moving to a house, if you have projects you want to do, don't like any holiday, Christmas, Father's Day, Mother's Day, ask for tools and be very specific. Know what you need, and ask for or go out and buy them. But I'm just saying, like for me, the biggest thing is when you're doing a project, if you have the right tools, it makes your life 10 times easier.
Yep.
So I refinished one of my other DIY projects and this is going to correlate with that. My daughter Ava, she had a crib that my mother-in-law bought her when she was born, and we used this was like 8 years ago, right? It's been in storage, so we got it out of storage and it was like yellow. Okay, it was like it was just disgusting.
Yep.
So my wife, she was like sentimental. I said, "Son, buy a new one. I'll refinish it." So I started off with like hand sanding it, and I'm like, I'm gonna be like these are the little like what are those little rungs and like little.
It's gonna take some time to get in those nooks and crannies.
You gotta get all the paint off.
Yeah.
Which by the way, you don't have to take all the paint off of something to repaint it. Life lesson for everybody there. I read half of an article that said take the paint off. I should have finished it because it said take the paint off. That's easy to come off. I just read to that point. So this thing was like I got it down to the bare wood, but I ended up going to get orbital sander and I got a mouser, and that made night and day. The mouser, the orbital sander was the first one I had, which anybody that doesn't know what orbital sander is, it just spins around in a circle and you can kind of get like rounded edges and stuff like that. Then I got a mouser, which is to get corners, and you can get a little attachment, little finger that you can get into like nooks and crannies. Mm-hmm. And so I bought them both, right? And that made my life 10 times easier. The project still took me probably like 40 or 50 hours because you had to sand it all down, paint it, you did several coats of paint. So it was a easy, good, time consuming, feels great. You can't tell there's any difference. I should have put like Hazenfield or etched that in or something.
It looks great, by the way.
But it looks like you bought it from IKEA. I mean,
yeah.
But I know I did the work, right?
Yeah, that had been super meaningful, not to cut in there. But.
So yeah, so I think one lesson is definitely like get your tools. Like,
Yeah.
And you can go rent like pretty much anything. Like if you don't want to buy it, you still like you can go rent anything at Lowe's.
That's
and Home Depot.
great advice. I was just about to ask, like, what do you recommend to those that don't have, the means to be buying a whole bunch of tools?
Go like figure out what you need and just go rent it. I mean, you can call like any Lowe's, Home Depot. They've got like distilled dealers. You've got I mean, you probably drive if you live in Amelia, you drive by like 15 of them on your way through Amelia.
There's
So
certainly a few out
yeah,
there.
so I would say that's number one. And
Can they also knock on your door too and rent a few tools from you?
yeah, I mean,
Alright, there you
Cole
go.
Hazenfield Tool Rental Business.
Hey,
Yeah,
Start it
LLC, because I don't want any liability on that if you put a screw through your hand. But that's number one, and number two is like a more of a life lesson, I guess if you want to call it that. Is some projects again, they take time, and it's so beautiful the time they take. So I know for that project, I again 40 or 50 hours, and that's like.
that's a work.
And that's like late nights. That's early mornings. That's weekends. Like you because you're not doing that. It's like back to back. I'm not taking a week off of work to do that.
Right.
So what I did see is the beauty of like starting something like that and then seeing it all the way through, and that's talk about like that rewarding feeling. That is to me what makes DIY do-it-yourself home projects. And it doesn't have to be a home project. I mean, DIY project, do-it-yourself project.
Yep.
But at your house or anywhere, you can like see the work. When you get to the finish line and you like see what you've done, you're like, man, that's sick. That's so cool. And then you're pumped to tell everybody about it. So I think life lesson is like it's kind of that whole it's the journey thing. Like that wasn't fun for me. Like I'm like going in between the spindles. I'm like blowing on it, like to make sure like the dust is off of it. That's not that fun. But then when you look back on it, you're like, I wasn't thinking about like anything else in my life when I was doing that. I was focused on this.
It's an addicting feeling.
It was so nice.
That's
I'm looking like that's like I told my wife the other day. I said, okay, we went and had dinner. We did our like, weekly planning, right? And I said, okay, we need to have like a project list that I can like sink my teeth into because we've got. I love our little baby girl, Blake, to death. She's the best thing in the world. But you kind of get in that zone of like just taking care of her, taking care of Ava, doing the work. And I love having projects to work on.
Yep.
So I'm like, we need to pick something that I can sink my teeth into. So we've got a list of like 7 or 8. She's like, we don't need all that done. I'm like, well, this is what I want to do. Painting's one of them, but she won't agree with that.
You're getting old when you get excited walking into Home Depot and Lowe's, And I get so jazzed up. It's like, dang, I could spend hours in here. I could use one of these, one of those.
Oh, you gotta find the right person that works there too.
Oh, yeah.
You find one that you can like. There's a guy, just so you know, anybody that lives around Anderson and stuff, Home Depot in Anderson.
Yeah.
You go in and you go to like the little mini section that's got like drill bits, sanding supplies, stuff like that.
Kind of in the center of the store.
I don't know the guy's name. I go there every single time I walk into Home Depot. And whatever I'm working on, I say, here's what I've got. What would you use? And he walks me through the store.
He's an encyclopedia.
Yeah, he's great. So I know I jumped in on that, but the dude is a rock. I wish I knew his name. I'd give him a huge shout out. Like Home Depot, bring him straight to the top. He's executive level stuff.
Hey, Home Depot, we're looking for a sponsor. You could be the first one.
Yeah, or Lowe's. If you don't want to jump in, Lowe's is right behind you.
That's right. Now, do you keep track of your expenses on these home projects? Because I personally do. It's just the person that I am. I like to track a lot of things, and I like to see, what's my ROI going to be potentially later on down the road when I look to sell my home.
I haven't done big enough projects yet to do that.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
So like I haven't done any aesthetic like to the house. I mean, I put lights up on our back patio.
Lighting can make a huge difference.
Yeah, but these are like permanent, non-permanent lights.
Okay.
Yeah, like you saw. I don't know if you saw them when you were over, but
Oh yeah.
they're nice lights. But again, those were like $50, and I just I hung this. Another cool project, but I haven't done anything. When we get into basement finishing, we get into painting, because painting is believe it or not, it's if you're painting the whole house, that's a big expense.
Yep.
Kitchen, we're gonna redo the kitchen counters. So there's the projects like that. Like I will absolutely. I haven't gotten there yet, but I plan to, and that's just something I picked up from you. I definitely plan to like keep track of that. I don't know.
I mean, maybe that's not something that you need to do, but that's just something that I've chosen to do.
Why do you do it though? I mean, you had an interesting point. You told me why you did it.
Well, I mean, there's nothing too special about it. If I bought the house for $100,000 and I sink $50,000 into it, I know up front that I've got to at least try to sell the home for $150,000 to break even. And technically, that's not even break even, but you get my point there.
Right.
And at the same time, when I first bought the home, I didn't want to put a whole bunch of money down. I kind of looked at the numbers and said, okay, it doesn't really make sense if I'm only going to be living in the home for, let's say 7 to 10 years max. And that's, again, like probably worst case scenario in my mind. I've been here for 3, so maybe only a couple more years. So it didn't make sense for me to put down, 20%, which I think you have to. But since I was a first-time homeowner, I think I had the option to only put down as little as like 3% or 5%. And again, it's just up to your personal decision to kind of look at the financials and what makes the most sense. But for me, I'm like, okay, I'm going to pay a little bit of an extra on my interest every month, which there's certainly downsides to that. But then I've got additional cash on hand that I can use to actually make enhancements to the home. And that's what I've done over the past 3 years. And not only just on the home, I have, that extra cash if, I've got a life crisis moment.
Emergency fund.
Yeah, exactly. I like to make sure I've got some funds there for a rainy day, or rainy days, I should say. So that's kind of my philosophy for why, I track my expenses in terms of what I put into the home. And I guess really at the end of the day, it's only worth as much as someone's willing to, make an offer for it.
Well, I think that's an interesting point you made though about the difference. Like what you hear a lot of the times, like put all this, put as much money as you can down, right?
Yeah.
And that's a good, I guess, that's one side of the coin, right? Put as much money as you can down, but also to that point, like if you've got a super low interest rate, I mean, yeah.
Right. Interest rates are at
you gotta look at the numbers, right?
Yeah.
But if you've got a super good interest rate, and depending on how long you're planning to live there and what you have coming up, like you said, I'm gonna do some work to the house, and I've got a great interest rate. I'll put less money down. I keep more cash in my pocket for things I might need it for, including like I can put that cash into the house to fix stuff. Because if you use it as a down payment, I mean, unless you're like you said, I mean, if you look at the numbers sometimes, the difference between 10% down versus 20% down sometimes doesn't make a huge difference on your monthly payment anyways. So, but that's a lot of cash on, let's say, a $300,000 house. 10% versus 20% is a lot of money.
It's an extra $30,000.
It's a lot of money. Yeah, that you could use to either do stuff to the house, keep in savings, reinvest. So I think that's just an interesting point.
Yeah, for sure. I think we could do a deep dive, and I think we should on a future episode around just real estate and housing.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's make it happen. Well, hey, I think we wrap this thing up. What do you say?
I think we wrap it up now.
All right. Well, once again, want to say thank you to all of our listeners out there. We really appreciate the support. We're growing quickly and receiving a lot of feedback. Please continue to tune in, share with friends and family. If you want to be on an episode, please reach out to us at unscriptedexchanges@gmail.com. But we are signing off, and have a wonderful evening.
Like, share, follow, comment, questions, anything. Just keep us engaged. Keep engaged with us, and we're excited to have you guys listening.
All of the above. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Bye.